Alright, so, we're doing a little bit different. We're actually gonna react to, Blameitonjorge videos, top 20 on, Tensensians, kids, disturbing kids characters around the world. So basically, what this is about is, so this is a guy named George, and so if you don't know the thing, George. So basically, what George is do these like things that are lost media, like lost media's banned things, and even scary things, to be honest with you. So you probably know him for the, okay, I'm gonna do this now because it's because there was a racist thing down there, but so he does these like top 10 things about scary, about uncanny valley things and all that. You know how he is. The first one I think I saw was the saddest from him. I think it was like the banned or, I think it's like banned or lost kids episode, especially with that. So yeah, this is back where the whole YouTube thing happened. And now let's go back. Hopefully there's no advertisement. Okay, there is no advertisement. So this is the one I want to react to. Maybe we have time. We might have time to react, or maybe not. But this is what I want to react. Top 20 unseemly since disturbing kids character from around the world. So like, let's do this. Hopefully, Twitch doesn't ban me for having a DMCA strike. If not, I'll be very pissed. Like, very, very unpleasantly pissed. I'm just adjusting the video there, so let's go. Yeah, disturbing.
Have you ever tuned into your favorite show as a child and was creeped out by one specific character? And one that wasn't even supposed to be creepy?
Well, actually, to my Spanish viewers, are there, I'm gonna upload this later to my vlogging channel, and yes, I still have to do that video for the vlog from Spain. But well, there's this one. It's not Sesame Street. It's even though Sesame Street has exclusive Spanish characters. The Spanish version has 2 exclusive characters in their country, so that's what I meant. So there's this character. So there's a kid puppet show named Los Loonies. So Los Loonies is this bizarre thing. So the only thing I only get from Los Loonies are the disc. Hold on a second, I'm gonna pull this up. Yeah, I only have their disc. Or actually, no, more specifically their music video, because this is about their like music video. So I'm gonna put this up close to see what it looks like. Yeah, this is them. So there's one specific character, I think, that freaks me out, and these are lopijojos, if I pronounce it right. If you don't know what those, it's a translation from Spanish to lice. Of course, real life lice are disturbing. That puppet one was actually the one that freaked me out. So yeah, that's the story about the one character that freaks me out. He didn't add it there, so who knows? Okay, let's go.
Sometimes even being the host of the show or its main characters. Well, you're not alone. Apparently tons of children's shows around the world has had these unintentionally creepy, nightmarish characters. So today, we're going to count down 20 unintentionally disturbing kids characters from around the world.
The Boobahs from Boobah. This show was a British TV program that was produced by Ragdoll Productions. The Boob.
You know what's funny? Sorry, I have to be the one that add things up. So the funniest part is that their company is named Ragdoll Production. Yeah, no shit. They look like ragdolls. Like seriously, disturbingly. Okay, sorry, I just have to do something like copy so I can tell my viewers. Alright, so so yeah, I just want to point it out because the funniest thing about it is about the company's name. Alright, let's just go.
Boobahs are 5 gumdrop-shaped creatures with big eyes and lights for eyebrows. Their heads are shriveled into their necks and they awkwardly move around and fly with each other. The Boobahs do not speak. Instead, they communicate by making noises like squeaks and cracks. Like other shows on this list, many children, and even some adults, found the Boobahs to be absolutely terrifying. There's just something so unsettling about the way they walk and move. And if that weren't enough, their website could use some help too.
I don't think so. So, okay, you know, I'm gonna check that later. I just want to see if it's true or not.
Distorted music along with weird flash games that won't really entertain anyone who's above the age of 3 seem to make this thing a little more terrifying than anything related to this show should be. The puppets from the...
What the fuck are those? I can see they had the names. That looks scary as fuck. What the fuck? Okay, you know, I'm sorry. Let's go.
Wiggles. The Wiggles was a musical group that performed on children's television from 1990.
Oh, the Wiggles. I remember that show. So yeah, the Wiggles are... So if you guys don't know, what the Wiggles are basically like the Australian musical groups. I think they have like a dinosaur with them, and pirates. I think I remember I have one of their swords, like a pirate sword, but fuzzy. I think I remember that, but let's go.
91 till now. While several of the cast members of the original group has either left due to physical health or old age, the original series has some pretty weird ideas about some of the side
And yeah, some shows have to be canceled at some point.
skits. For example, there was The Puppets, which was based on a popular Alvin and the Chipmunks group, and TV.
So basically, let me get this straight. Since they saw Alvin and the Chipmunks, and they decided because of their high pitched thing. Yeah, it's true. I actually watched the movie as well. But this is weird. This is so strangely fucking weird.
TV show at the time. These horrifying things had their own unique look and style, even if their voices were pitched up in the same manner as the titular rodents. They move in rather stilted, disjointed ways, and have pretty terrible puppetry to go along with it. They always have these big, plastered smiles on their faces, and large beady eyes that seem to stare right past you.
I want to go back.
They're right past you.
Yep, that's the dinosaur that I was talking about.
Really, this would feel more home on a Chucky's film rather than a children's TV show.
So true. They gotta start doing a Chucky thing. Oh.
Nonetheless, the Wiggles puppets gave kids nightmares throughout all of the 90s.
Fafo, from the island.
What the fuck is that? What is that? What the fuck is that? That's kind of creepy. No. Okay, you're fine. Let's watch it.
Island of Dr. Moreau. Fafo is an alien-born character from a fictional planet called Fafolandia. He came to Earth to form his own band called Balloon Magic with a quartet of children. Since his inception, he's grown to become quite popular amongst Brazilian children, getting to have its own program, dolls, and other licensed.
Okay, to be honest, this one's a little bit. This one's way creepier than this one. Not bad.
Products. However, he's still incredibly creepy, and his features are incredibly bizarre. Most notably his strange cheeks that outgrow and sag over his skin, and his eyes that gave off an almost sinister-looking stare. His nightmarish appearance is completely unintentional, but nightmarish nonetheless.
Sasuga Minami from Miburi
Oh, was it supposed to say fuck or something?
TV. Miburi TV was a morning Japanese TV show involving children dancing, often with the host Sasuga Minami.
I gotta ask Gaijin about this because this looks. Yes. I don't know if you guys knew the story on Twitter. Like, one point, Gaijin's Gaijin hunter. Gaijin means foreign in Japanese. Gaijin hunter's daughter Yuna put Among Us things and on the doorstep. And yeah, I was gonna say, even though the name is Gaijin Hunter, I know his real name is Adam, but I'll call him Gaijin Hunter for respect. So yeah, I say Amana's dead, and then now that he replied, now that closed, and I ended up apologizing, and he responded. Which is, let's be fair, it was my fault for saying that. So yeah, that's the story. But I'm gonna have to ask him about this show.
She's seen in a one-piece jumpsuit that has patches on it saying some pretty vulgar things all in English. And while these two might be
Please don't ban me.
confusing to a Japanese audience,
Okay, no.
born in a number of episodes with little to no backlash. In one confusing episode, the children are seen wearing the flute from HR Puff and Stuff.
Okay, I apologize. I skipped that because I don't want to be rescued for being banned.
This bizarre children's show only ran for 2 years, with a total of just 17 episodes. The plot involved an 11-year-old boy named Jimmy, who becomes shipwrecked and lands on a deserted island. Him and his friend, a talking flute named Freddy, take a ride on a mysterious boat that leads them to the living island. The boat was actually being controlled by a wicked witch, who used it to lure Jimmy and Freddy to her castle. The entire show is full of strange human-sized puppets, and Freddy the Flute is the creepiest looking companion ever. He gives off an unsettling face
I don't think Freddy the Flute creeps me out, to be honest.
whenever he talks or just appears on camera. But what's just as terrifying as Freddy the Flute is Witchy Poo, the primary antagonist of the series who's after Freddy the Flute. She rides a large rocket-powered broom and is mean to everyone around her, even her henchmen.
The Groke from the Moomins. The Groke is a fictional character from the Swedish show The Moomins. She's a tall, ghost-like creature and is known as the biggest threat in Moomin Valley. Cold, creepy, and with a killer stare, everything this character touches freezes. If she stays in one spot for more than 1 hour, the ground dies and nothing can ever grow there again. In the English dub, she's completely mute, but in the Finland, Poland, France, and Japan dub, her voice is absolutely terrifying. The Groke is considered to be one of the most intimidating characters in a children's program. However, she is also considered by others to be one of the most sympathetic and misunderstood villains. Even though she starts out portrayed as an evil and terrifying antagonist, later adaptations depict her as a lonely person who longs for warmth, light, and companionship, but is unable to because of her nature to kill things. She has no control over her appearance and her ability to freeze anything she touches.
Mr. Blobby from Noel's House Party. Noel's House Party was a Saturday night TV show on the
That one keeps me out, not gonna lie.
BBC, once hailed as the most important show on the BBC by a senior corporation executive. In 2010, Noel's House Party was voted the best Saturday night TV show of all time, according to the Mirror. Despite the positive reception, one of the show's characters was negatively received, and that was Mr. Blobby. Mr. Blobby is an 8-foot, round-shaped pink figure covered in yellow spots. He communicates by saying the word Blobby in an electronically altered voice and expresses mood through the tone of his voice. He was criticized for his behavior, at one point causing one little girl to cry after throwing her birthday cake onto the floor, which then caused the father to approach the stage and attack Blobby.
Wait, really?
Mummenschanz from The Muppet Show. On episode 124, the Mummenschanz made a guest appearance on The Muppet Show. They're an experimental group of dancers formed in Switzerland, made up of performers whose techniques include acting, puppeteering, and other forms of artistry. They mainly perform in black leotards or other minimal attire, with creative masks while remaining completely silent. They also made an appearance on Sesame Street, where they performed several times. One involving 2 cardboard boxes to demonstrate the idea of being sane and different, and another involving freely stretching out each other's masks. These concepts must have been entertaining and even fascinating to adults, but for children, it must have confused and horrified them. These ominous pale white masks with cold, permanent expressions are menacing, coupled with the fact that they are surrounded by beloved Muppets, makes them even more disturbing.
The Phone from Telechat. Telechat is a French television show designed to be a parody of news programs but for kids. It stars puppets of anthropomorphic animals who all act and look in very strange ways. Their movements are so sporadic that it gives off just an uncomfortable vibe, and they all look just as weird too. The cat in the suit frequently has a broken arm, and the ostrich wears lipstick and shows cleavage. But strangest of all is the phone with a face. He whispers in the anchorman's ear when he picks him up, and almost sounds like he's gasping for air, before completely changing his tone. The show itself doesn't look that bad, and it does have some more frightening moments, like this microphone with an ear attached to it. It has a permanent looking smile stuck on it, and an extremely bothersome voice.
Morso from Morso. There is honestly not that much information about Morso online. All we do know is that he's a character from a Finnish children's show. Some of the only available footage online is what I assume to be a scene from the show featuring a bear character stirring something, and this horrifying, nightmare-inducing, distorted clip of Morso himself. The frightening music only helps solidify.
I think to make it worse, somebody like recorded this on with these camera things. So I'm pretty sure that made it worse.
Morso as a being of children's fears, and without it, he's still scary looking. Again, there's not much I could find about his character, or even what the show was about, which ironically only adds to the creepiness.
Carbuncle from Ik Mik Lorland. This Netherlands show was
Hold on, I'll be right back. I need to use the restroom. Okay, I'm back.
Was an educational program that ran for 2 seasons in 1994. The series was intended to teach children how to read with a method called learning to read safely. It featured a character named Carbuncle, who induced fear into every Dutch child who watched the show. In fact, the show was criticized heavily because of Carbuncle, who many parents thought was too scary for their children. Some even endured nightmares, according to a loosely translated article. After the first 20 episodes, Carbuncle was made more kid-friendly by transforming him almost entirely human. This was to inspire viewers to continue watching the series and expand on their education. And, despite the criticism, Ik McLoreland was a huge success. Though many Dutch children still recall the terror that was Carbuncle. Ananas from Telefrancis. Telefrancis was a French children's show that ran from 1984 to 1986. The show became a popular teaching tool in Canadian and American schools to teach their students French as a second language. However, the show featured a character named Ananas, a frightening, sporadic talking pineapple who often gets into adventures with our 2 main characters. She pretty much never blinks and is usually just looking around.
Sorry, someone was calling me. Okay, never mind.
Down in a dazed stare when she's not speaking. She's almost nothing like her animated counterpart, who always appears in the show's opening title sequence. There's one episode where she sings and dances in the forest with the 2 other children, again looking extremely uncomfortable and creepy.
Hartley Hare from Pipkins. There was a 70s kids show in Britain called Pipkins that ran from January 1973 to December 1981. The show starred a gang of animals such as a pig, a monkey named Topov, an ostrich named Octavia, and a hare named Hartley Hare. He was the most daunting thing about the show, and while Hartley Hare wasn't intended to be creepy, he ended up being downright unnerving for some children. The show itself was devoid of any real humor or color, and instead focused on a depressing color scheme. In this video, Hartley talks to children about being naughty.
And today I'm going to talk to you about being naughty.
He then brings out a glove puppet and explains that you can do all sorts of things with a glove puppet.
You know, you can be naughty with a glove puppet, can't you, Michael? Oh, dearie me, Michael. We have been getting into lots of trouble, haven't we? Yes, still.
Pipkins was canceled when its producers, ATV, lost its franchise for the Midlands ITV region. Interestingly, due to videotape damage and poor storage, many of the show's episodes are completely lost. Out of 333 episodes, only 135 survived the test of time.
The Giant Walrus from Pingu. In the episode titled Pingu's Dream, Pingu falls asleep and finds himself in a dream where his igloo home flies away and then his bed grows legs and moves around. As bizarre as most dreams go, this one seems fine, until a giant walrus begins to stalk Pingu. The walrus slowly murmurs inaudible noises before confronting Pingu. He traps Pingu in an igloo, and then laughs some more in an uncomfortably deep tone, then must have scared the children watching at home. What's most odd is that he only appeared in this one episode. It was banned from distribution due to the walrus being frightening for many young viewers. It was also removed from British television in 2003 and was one of the few programs pulled from airing in the United States.
P. Salty, from P. Salty's Songs for Little Praisers. P. Salty is described
I'm assuming that this is like a Christian thing, right? I think so.
by their website as a songbook, but not just any songbook, a songbook full of songs for children. P. Salty, in reality, is a grown man in a book costume. His face is painted blue, and it appears that he has some sort of clay prosthetic to make his cheeks more pronounced. He is often with and watching a group of kids with his trusty dog, Blooper. Blooper is another 30-something man who wears a downright creepy dog costume and is forced to act like a dog. Oftentimes, kids are petting him and treating him like an animal, which includes allowing them to lay in their laps and allowing them to pet his thighs and getting uncomfortably close to his groinal area. It really does scream stranger danger, but really, that is for you to decide. The Puppets from Peppermint Park. According to TV tropes, this 80s TV show can be described as straight to DVD and straight from hell. And rightfully so. The main cast of characters is a scary group of puppets that teaches children lessons like letters, numbers, colors, and so on. Take Ernie, for example, who likes to sing about the letter M.
It's me, Ernie. Today on Peppermint Park, we're introducing the letter M. It's such a great letter.
Like, I don't want to be mean or something, but he sounded like somebody who just hit puberty.
It's marvelous, magnificent. I can't imagine life without the letter M.
The song is poorly written and sung by a voice that can make ears bleed. There's also Maynard, an old, saggy-looking puppet who sings about the color blue in this clip.
I'm so blue.
Sorry, guys.
I said I'm so blue. I used to be yellow. Now I'm laid back and mellow.
Not only is the show incredibly obscure, but it was a ripoff of Sesame Street. It had an opening title sequence with children and puppets that gave lessons, and even a character that bears a striking resemblance to the Cookie Monster. What really makes the show unnerving is the way they move and the designs themselves. It honestly looks as though there are actors that just had their heads removed and then replaced with a creepy doll.
Whizbit from Whizbit. This 80s show was about an alien magician known as Whizbit, who solves puzzles and finds out as much as he can about the planet Earth. The show was mostly educational, with the solutions to the puzzles being revealed towards the end of each episode. That's all fine and whatnot, but Whizbit's design is terrifying. It has a painfully high-pitched and disturbing childlike voice that's annoying, but evil-sounding all at the same time.
Hey, Whizbit, have you seen what happened?
I certainly have, Wooly.
Did you just come from Puzzleopolis?
Yes, I did.
Circle Square. Is it,
Black, white, and gray.
G? And the puzzle gate, is it,
Black, white, and gray.
And squidgy? Not squidgy.
I'm afraid so. He's a black, white, and gray bug now.
He's also accompanied by this tall, creepy bunny whose voice sounds muttered and delirious, unintentionally coming off as a threat. Wisbit lives in a house that's completely void of color, with chilling music being played in the background. However, towards the end of one episode, the color palette does lighten up, but the bunny just dances for an uncomfortable amount of time while Wisbit just stands there, pondering.
Ratafak Plachta from Slineko. Definitely one of the more obscure characters on this list. This horrifying puppet is from a Czechoslovakian TV show.
Oh wow. Wait, is this before they were separated to like Slovak and the Czech Republic? I'm pretty sure it is. But if it's if that show like still ran after that, I'm pretty sure it is still on in both countries. I'm pretty sure it's canceled by now, but I'm just saying it would probably be running from two countries after they went separated.
It's pretty hard to describe him, but according to a user on Reddit, his name translates to Nosy Blankets. Anyways, in this clip, he's frolicking around and singing an insanely creepy song. In the show, he seems to enjoy walking around and having fun with children. That's all I could take out of it. He just looks so damn creepy and moves in such a bizarre way.
Nobody from Sesame Street. Count to 10 with Nobody was an odd and old sketch from the early years of Sesame Street. It featured a disembodied floating set of eyes and mouth called Nobody, as he counted down from 10 with weird animations and music in the background. The scariest thing about Nobody is his eerie sounding voice. It was so unusually calm and ominous. He almost sounded like a psychopath waiting to murder someone. Nobody originated from an early Jim Henson short film about the human subconscious. Nobody would, just like in the Sesame Street, float around and speak in his isolated whispering voice and have flashbacks about his family. Sometimes he would stutter, and other times he would smack his lips or moan and talk about his evil thoughts.
Lovely. That's a nice thought. Isn't that beautiful? Of course, I've got some evil thoughts too. I guess everybody does. Hey, you want to see my evil thoughts? I keep them over here, in this part of my brain.
As soon as he would mention these evil thoughts, disturbing images would flash on screen for a brief few frames.
Mr. Nosybunk from Jigsaw. This character
More like Saw. Oh god.
is from an 80s British TV show and was originally supposed to serve as the program's comic relief character. As the show went on, he became more the subject of fear. Episodes would often show Mr. Nosybunk acting out clues to the word of the week. After all, this was an educational children's show, and for a children's show, he was downright horrifying. His mask had these big, lifeless eyes that just kind of stared off into the distance. This wide and unchanging grin that displays a haunting smile, and an unusually large nose. In the show, he's always silent, and often had his nightmarish repetitive tune accompany him. Not much was really known about his character, and information was scarce until recently, when he was brought up online. Charlie Brooker, host of the BBC television series Screenwipe, describes him as a leering death mask figure who haunted his dreams and struck him as the kind who would sneak into a stranger's bedroom in the dead of night and knife you and knife you and knife you.
So I guess that is it. Hold on. I'm just gonna close the window and turn off the audio of the desktop just in case I have advertisements. back to the top 30 disturbing moments in kids shows, but that's an hour long, so we're not gonna do that. However, there's actually one video I want to do, and that is there's no advertisement, so we're good. And motherfucker, why do they always have to do that to me? The screen. And that is the puppets. Oh, there they are. Nope. Nope. Not risking to get banned or demonetized or something. First of all, I'm never interested in the Disney thing. I mean, I am interested in Disney, but I'm not interested in going to their live shows. Alright, this one is called 10 Disturbing Puppet Shows from Around the World.
Puppets. What is it about them that creates such an unsettling atmosphere? I'm sure many of us had a particular puppet or doll that tormented us growing up, always worried that it might come to life and do something. This fear comes from their uncanny valley factor, and the fact that they are only able to move when we're in control of them. So the thought of them moving on their own creates an unsettling feeling. And there are many puppet shows on television that enhance this fear, whether they intend to or not. So today, we're going to be taking a peek behind the curtains at 10 of the most disturbing puppet shows from around the world.
The BJ and Dirty Dragon Show. The BJ and Dirty Dragon Show aired from 1968 to 1974 and starred Bill Jackson, the BJ of the show, and his many puppets. The show spun off from Jackson's first series, Clown Alley, which was widely praised but did poorly due to having a bad time slot. The studios were impressed with him though, and gave him a second chance with the BJ and Dirty Dragon Show, bringing along some of his most popular puppets. Jackson played himself as the mayor of Cartoon Town, which despite its name, had puppets as its residents. Dirty Dragon was the postmaster, but ended up eating all the mail. At the center of the town was a large blob clay that spoke in a distorted voice that only Jackson could understand. He would manipulate the blob into whatever shape he felt was appropriate for that day. The show received tough competition, forcing the studio to make a few alterations to the format, including turning the puppet characters into human actors in costumes. This didn't sit well with audiences though, and it was changed back to puppets quickly. It's easy to imagine why the puppets wouldn't work well as human-sized costumes since they were terrifying to look at in puppet form. Imagine that blown up a few sizes and moving far too human-like. The puppets' facial features were all grossly exaggerated in order to create a comedic effect. Many of the puppets' faces are static, retaining their deformed expressions throughout their entire appearance on screen, speaking roles and all. Despite the ugly and disturbing appearances of some of the puppets, Bill Jackson and his shows received critical acclaim around the Chicago area and even held one final show in 2009 at the Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Les Minicums. Les Minicums was a French children's puppet show that aired from 1993 until 2002. The show was immensely successful in France, even leading to a massive fan base that is still active to this day. And to be honest, I don't know why. The Minicum puppets are very uncomfortable to look at. They're very similar to Lazy Town. The puppets are very stylized, mixed in with a sense of realism. They look as though they were drawn as cartoon characters first and then made into puppets later, similar to what Brad Bird did with The Incredibles. However, these puppets were given realistic looking features on top of their cartoonish appearances, like lips, skin textures, and eyelids. The end result is something that looks very uncanny. In 2017, the overwhelming demand of the Minikim's media caused the franchise to be rebooted, where it is currently airing to this day. The show must be pretty popular for some reason, but it can't be argued that the puppets are pretty creepy.
Did he dab?
Are pretty creepy.
Oh my god, he fucking dab! He motherfucking dab!
The Spooks of Bottle Bay. The Spooks of Bottle Bay was a British children's drama series that aired from 1993 to 1995. 3 VHS tapes were released featuring a few episodes, but no DVD release or video upload exists for the remaining episodes, and there hasn't been any airing of the series on television since. The show follows the adventures of Sidney Sludge and his dog Maxwell inside of a ship in a bottle, while coming across his evil siblings, Sybil and Cedric. Each time he is helped, unbeknownst to him, by the spooks of Bottle Bay. In terms of what makes the show unsettling, the puppets seem to be a sort of hybrid between the style seen in Les Mini-Cumes and Lazy Town, and a more abstract style similar to the BJ and Dirty Dragon show. While a good amount of the series currently remains lost, it appears that some viewers have been trading early recordings, so it's possible there may be more of this series to be seen in the future.
A Scare at Bedtime. A Scare at Bedtime, also known as Podge and Raj, was an Irish puppet show that aired from 1997 until 2006, almost 10 years. The name of the show was a sort of pun on a show called A Prayer at Bedtime, which overlaid the text of a Roman Catholic prayer over serene images while choral music played. The show follows a pair of twins in their 60s, Raj and Podge, who lived in a converted insane asylum with a lunatic nurse named Granny, who's dating Satan. This is clearly very different from the plethora of unintentionally disturbing children's shows that have made up this list so far. The series is full of dark and sexual humor, especially with Raj, who makes frequent masturbation jokes. Podge and Raj are rather ugly, with large bulging eyes and gross, pasty skin. This makes sense though, given that their last names are O'Leprosy. The show is no stranger to gross out humor, with on-screen vomited and other crude jokes. Given that this show is aimed at adults and teenagers, it makes sense that this puppet show would embrace the more disturbing and weird elements that come with the territory. The fact that most of this was intentional takes away a bit from the
Tots TV.
Whoa. What are you trying to do? Ban me here? No one's banning me on my watch.
Tots TV. Produced in Britain by Ragdoll Productions, the show focused on 3 children who went on standard children's adventures, such as going to the pool or picking apples. Like most of the shows on this list, it's ultimately harmless. But it's the look of the puppets that really seals the deal in terms of creepiness. They appear rather static and lifeless, aside from the obvious clacky-looking eyes and barely moving mouths. They look like a crossbreed between Raggedy Ann and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Interestingly, one of the 3 children, Tilly, is voiced completely in French.
Attends, les fenêtres sont sales.
In the French version, she speaks English, and in the American version, she speaks in Spanish. Aside from that, there's really nothing else setting this apart from other puppet shows, though. It's just another unintentionally creepy children's show, except this time with stringy straw hair and beady little eyes.
Mr. Meaty. You all knew Mr. Meaty would be on here, so let's just dive straight in. This Canadian-American teen comedy originally aired on CBC television in Canada and Nickelodeon in America. It follows 2 teenagers, Parker and Josh, who work at Mr. Meaty, a fast food restaurant in the mall. Not only do the puppets themselves look pretty disturbing, but the content in the show is also pretty messed up as well. There is of course the infamous tapeworm episode where Parker gets a tapeworm after eating raw meat, leading them to sell it to a zookeeper who just straight up eats it. But there are far more messed up moments than just that. One example is the recurring character Mr. Carney, the 109-year-old founder and CEO of Mr. Meaty. He cryogenically froze himself in order to prolong his life, and now he appears so sickly and diseased that he could very well be a zombie. Aside from his looks, he's a rather disturbing individual, forcing his assistant to wear a shock collar that goes off whenever he disobeys him. One short has Parker and a goth girl sticking their hands in a deep fryer, destroying them, and then they proceed to eat their fried hands. Another episode has a girl's nose falling off thanks to a zit, and then a rat comes and eats her fallen nose. The list goes on, from Parker literally dying of embarrassment to being offered up to a cannibalistic cult, and a frozen body being found in the Mr. Meaty freezers. Just, what the hell was this show? The series ran from 2005 until 2009, so it didn't really have an insanely short lifespan like you might think. Many people seem to remember the show because it was so weird and uncanny, not because of the humor or anything like that. But when you're making a puppet show about meat, it seems inevitable that this would happen.
Katsufilm. From 1996 to 2001, an Israeli political satire show titled Katsufilm aired featuring, you guessed it, disturbing and creepy puppets. Interestingly, most of the puppets were modeled after real politicians, so it's easy to see how.
Wow, I didn't know that. Also, I think there was an English version called Spitting Image, right? Hold on, I'm looking that up. Oh yeah, Spitting Image. Looks like that, but I guess it's a Israel thing or Judaism? I don't know.
How the transition from realistic humans to satirical puppets could lead into the uncanny valley. Information about the show in English is rather scarce, so we'll be basing all this information on the few videos present on YouTube. Now, I'm sure you've seen those creepy, realistic Trump and Obama masks at Halloween stores, right? Well, this show is chock full of them for Israeli politicians, with incredibly flabby skin, realistic lips, hair, and just wrong movement. It's essentially as if a political cartoon
I don't know if they got in trouble for that, though.
From The New Yorker came to life, but nobody stopped to think how these exaggerated features would look in the real world before they created them. The result is a jiggly, flabby mess, which, to be fair, is a pretty accurate representation of the elderly real-life politicians they're based off of.
If you shop a
No, so much no. I think advertisements are way more scary than puppets, to be honest.
Torchy, the Battery Boy. What can one expect when they hear a show titled like Torchy the Battery Boy? Especially after knowing that it's a puppet show from the 60s. The British children's show follows the titular Torchy, who indeed has a battery inside of him, along with a lamp on his head. His eyes appear malevolent and bug-eyed, and the static nature of his face doesn't do much to help. Given that this is a marionette show from the 60s, it's clear that the production values weren't too high. The black and white presentation, as well as the staticky audio, add to the uncomfortable nature of the series and puppets. There's a shot at the end of the first episode where Torchy turns his head to say goodbye to an old man.
Be careful, Torchy. Bye-bye, Mr. Bumbledrop.
His head turn is very unnatural in this shot, and added in with the shadows, low lighting, and generally upsetting face, it proves to be the defining shot of the series. Something innocent that was seen as something far more sinister. The Rimini Riddle. The Remedy Riddle was an Irish puppet show that aired from 1992 until 1995 and lasted for 3 seasons during a block called Saturday Club. Not much is known about the show given that it has remained almost entirely lost since its finishing airing in 1995. No home media or internet upload have been released, with only 2 short clips surfacing in the past 23 years. The only information about the show comes from these 2 clips, TV guides describing the show, and memories of the viewers. Apparently, the show was about 3 orphans who live in the Remedy house and try to solve a mystery about 2 girls who drowned many years ago. There's apparently a stuffed otter toy named Otto who is evil and might have had a part in the drowning of the girls. As is tradition, the puppets are horrifying. Their faces are horribly disfigured, as though they went through some kind of terrible accident with hair like Carrot Top. In addition to the human puppets, other creatures appear throughout the series, or at least in the clips that are available, that appear like deformed Fraggles, complete with huge, burning eyes.
It's the middle of the night.
I know it is. You were having a nightmare.
You can say that again.
It's unclear if the show was meant for children, but given its dark and disturbing themes, it's safe to say that it was along the same lines as something like Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Sarah and Hoppity. Sarah and Hoppity aired in the early 60s and focused on a young girl named Sarah and her toy named Hoppity, who is very naughty and gets her into trouble all the time. Given that Sarah is a human, you would expect that she would be played by a human, but instead she's a puppet like everyone else. The show features marionettes which are rather stilted and restricted in their movement. In the first episode, Sarah is managing the front desk of her mother's toy hospital when an old man wanders in, and nobody sees or hears this man come in, aside from Sarah. He claims he has a toy to sell, and then pulls out a broken, dead-looking toy out of a sack, almost like a body bag.
I tell you, there's no one more clever than Hoppity.
Hoppity? Oh, what a lovely name. Why do you call him that?
Because he's only got 1 leg and he can't dance properly. All he can do is to go hop, hop, Hoppity.
Hop, hop, Hoppity. Oh, how funny. I'll show him to Daddy and see if he'll buy him for me.
Yes, but don't be long. I haven't got all day.
After buying it, Sarah cleans him and gives him a new leg, causing the thing to come to life and dance around. And while he's charming at first, Hoppity slowly becomes more mischievous, acting as a sort of demon on Sarah's shoulders, convincing her to do bad things. Only she can hear him as well, and when she gets blamed for something bad, she says, "Hoppity told me to do it." It's unknown if Hoppity suggested more and more evil things, given that almost the entire series is currently missing.
Peppermint Park.
Boys and girls, here's something you can do when you can't go to the park. Or maybe your friends can't come over to play. You could ask your mom to get some bubble liquid. And you can make some bubbles like this. Watch.
Wee, whoa, look at mine's pretty.
Yeah,
all the colors and everything.
Oh, look.
Much like Sesame Street, to which it's often compared, Peppermint Park has a mixture of live action, animation, and puppets. Now, taking one look at this show, it's clear that nobody stopped for a moment to consider that this show was for children, and that they would find these puppets absolutely horrifying. Seriously, these are some of the more disturbing and ugly puppets that we've seen on this list. These puppets feature a talking head with 2 hands that have real human hands inside of them. They always stare straight forward at the screen, almost as if they're staring at you, the viewer. Often with very awkward and slurred voice acting.
Come on, gang. Sing the song along with me this time. It's marvelous.
The show has gained a cult following over the past years, thanks to its meme and shitpost potential. You would think that adding funny music and editing the clips into YouTube poops would diminish its creepy nature. But, nah, not really.
Alright, so I guess that's I said. That was weird as shit.